What we have with us today is the latest addition to KTM's 390 portfolio. Yes, we are talking about the KTM 390 Enduro R. Based on the 390 Adventure, KTM says this motorcycle is meant for 50% off-road and 50% on-road, but I've ridden this motorcycle only off-road all throughout. So that should tell you about the capability of this motorcycle. So in this review, we'll tell you all about how the motorcycle performs off-road in particular. We'll ride it on-road when we get it back later at a home base, and what a motorcycle. So before we begin, I request you to subscribe to the NDTV Auto YouTube channel in case you haven't already, and click on the bell notification icon so that you don't miss out on the latest updates from NDTV Auto. So let's talk about the design of the motorcycle. Well, it is an Enduro and it is a very minimalist sort of a motorcycle, right? So as you can see, it's very lithe, nimble, lean, machine, very purpose built, right? So these chunky dual sport tires from Mitas Enduro, right? Front and rear, 21-inch wheel up front, 18-inch wheel at the rear, tubed rims, not tubeless, and you have this nice sharp profile right here, a single piece seat, and it is quite tall at 860 mm. So shorter riders might find it to be some problem, right? But apart from that, it has a nice sharp tank, small tank, and wide handlebar. The rear view mirrors aren't fitted because we have been riding off-road all throughout. And yeah, you also have this crash guard here, which comes as standard, and it's not an accessory. So in case you have a fall, which you will if you're riding Enduro, so this will protect the motorcycle. And it looks really nice, rugged, purpose-built, and we have put it through all sorts of tests, and so far no rattling of the panels and no deterioration in quality. But yes, if you buy the motorcycle and ride it for long term, then we'll have to see how the design and how the panels hold up. But so far no complaints. And these panels that you see, these are molded, so they are molded in the same color that they have not been painted upon, so that increases the durability and the shelf life of the panels. So in case you do have a fall and you get a scratch, so what you'll see is this orange color and not some other color, right? So that's a nice trick there by KTM. The 390 Adventure also gets the same panels. Overall, the design is very nice, rugged, and I like the way the motorcycle looks. So the motorcycle weighs in at 177 kg, and like we said, the seat height is tall at 860 mm. But since it is narrow, it's not really a problem for you to get on the bike, right? I'm 5'8" and I can tiptoe, right? I'm steady. And if I were to talk about the seat itself, it is nice and comfy. It is slightly hard, but that's okay, that's nice. And if you want to stand up and ride, well, in that case, so you have enough purchase for your knees to grip the seat, so you're steady there, and the handlebar is nice and wide, so you can easily put out your elbows and ride the motorcycle when you're riding off-road. And for my height, I don't think there is a problem with the height of the handlebar. The other interesting fact is that you can change the position of the handlebar. You can bring it closer to the rider, you can take it further away, and yes, it's nice and comfortable. At least for my height, it's nice and comfy, and I like the ergonomics on this bike. The motorcycle gets a decent set of electronic rider aids like switchable ABS and traction control, and 2 riding modes, street and off-road. Then there's Bluetooth connectivity and turn-by-turn navigation, along with 2 display modes. The console itself, while small, offers clean, crisp view of the data. The Enduro R gets the same engine and specifications as the 390 Adventure, a 399cc LC4C engine which is liquid cooled and makes 46 horsepower at 8500 rpm, along with 39 Newton meters of peak torque at 6500 rpm. The engine is paired to a 6-speed gearbox with a bi-directional quick shifter which can be switched off. So the 390 Enduro R gets the same engine as the KTM 390 Adventure in the same state of tune, right? And well, I always liked the engine on the 390 Adventure. On this motorcycle, it feels really nice, and since the motorcycle is lighter than the 390 Adventure, you have all the more grunt in the bottom end and the mid-range. We did not test the top end performance of the 390 Enduro R because we have been riding off-road all day long, and the motorcycle stalled only once or twice, and that was also because I did not put in the correct inputs, right? So yes, the engine It's refined, it's smooth, and the bottom end grunt and the mid-range punch on this bike is really strong. So if you want to go up steep inclines, if you want to climb down, use engine braking, if you're stuck somewhere, you just open up the throttle in the first gear and most probably chances are that you'll get out of it, because that's the kind of bottom end torque that the engine churns out. And since it's light, the power to weight ratio is really nice as well. Apart from that, the handling of the motorcycle on tight technical off-road trails is really nice. Because it is light, it gives you more confidence, and when you are riding it on trails like these, you stand up and you just throttle out. Yes, one thing to notice is the fact that the clutch is really sensitive, right? It is sensitive, so you need to get used to the clutch. It's not a deal breaker at all. And if you were to talk about the braking on this motorcycle, it's really nice. The brakes are slightly dull, but that's because the nature of the motorcycle demands so. So it's not exactly sharp like you would find say on a 390 Duke. It is slightly dull. There's decent bite and progression, and if you were to ride this bike and switch off the rear ABS, you can always ride the motorcycle around, right? So yeah, the performance from the engine and the brakes and the handling of the motorcycle is nice, and it reminds me of a typical KTM off-road adventure machine. So quite impressive to say the least. So this being an enduro, we have to talk about the suspension setup on the motorcycle, right? So this gets the same suspension setup as the 390 Adventure, which means 43mm forks up front, inverted of course, and fully adjustable for compression and rebound, not preload. And here you have a 20-step monoshock adjustability, right? So 30 clicks of setup here and 20 clicks on the monoshock. The International-spec 390 Enduro R gets more suspension travel. This gets 200mm up front and 205mm at the rear. Now KTM says that different markets demand different suspension and tire setup, which is why the suspension setup on this Indian spec motorcycle is a little less. 200 and 205 could have been slightly more, but in all fairness, all the jumps and all the trail riding that we subjected the motorcycle to, it performed really well. And on a couple of occasions, yes, the rear did bottom out, but that's part and parcel of the game, so it's not a deal breaker. And plus, you can always adjust it according to your weight and your liking, right? So yes, the suspension could have been more, maybe, but so far we kind of liked the setup on this motorcycle. It is in the stock factory settings right now, and if we of course tune it to my weight and liking, then the ride experience becomes even better. So yeah, that's about the suspension setup on the 390 Enduro R.
To sum it up, the International-spec model of the 390 Enduro R gets 230mm of suspension travel front and rear, has a ground clearance of 272mm and seat height of 890mm, compared to the less travel on the India-spec model along with 253mm of ground clearance and 860mm seat height. At 3,37,000 rupees ex showroom, the 390 Enduro R is positioned between the KTM 390 Adventure X and the standard 390 Adventure, with it being 31,000 less expensive than the 390 ADV. Its nearest rival is the Kawasaki KLX 230, which is lighter, less powerful and priced at 3,30,000 rupees.
Alright, time for the verdict on the KTM 390 Enduro R. Well, it's a niche product, so there will be limited takers for this motorcycle, but if this motorcycle does end up in a garage, you're not going to regret it. It is a very capable machine. The engine is really nice and punchy. The motorcycle looks nice, sharp, lean and mean, and it has a decent set of features as well. It's very capable off the road. You want to go trail riding, do some really big jumps, or if you want to just ride this motorcycle endlessly on trails, go off-road, up your game in terms of off-road riding skills, then this is the perfect partner for you. And yeah, I really like the way the motorcycle performs, and we do wish this particular motorcycle, the India spec motorcycle, was most similar to the international spec motorcycle in terms of suspension travel, but apart from that, it's a fantastic machine and I had a blast riding this bike. What are your thoughts on the KTM 390 Enduro R? Do let us know in the comments below, and if you liked this video, do give us a thumbs up and please do share this video with your family and friends. Till then, take care, ride safe. My name is King Shok and I'll see you in the next video from NDTV Auto. Bye bye.